I think I got my driver's license when I was 16. That was 1954. I joined the Air Force in 1960 in Dallas and went into the communications field. And I've driven everything from a 60-passenger bus to a deuce and a half pickup. First thing I noticed that something was wrong was back in '07 that I started just slowing down, moving in slow motion. I was coming back from Amarillo, Texas, 2 o'clock in the morning, and I was pulled over because I was weaving in and out.
It wasn't that he wasn't paying attention, it was just that he would veer off the road sometimes and slow down when he needed to be going faster and just things like that.
So Parkinson's disease can affect a person's ability to drive safely in a number of different ways. There are factors that are specific to the disease, and there are factors that are not specific to the disease but are common in all of us as we get older. And since Parkinson's disease is more common in older population, obviously these factors are more common.
Driving is probably one of the most complicated things that we do. So for most of us, it becomes kind of a procedural task that we have completely overlearned and we don't even think about. For someone with Parkinson's disease, when one of those areas breaks down and they have trouble with that, then it becomes a multitask and they have to do each of the activities individual and they have to think about each one of them. And in Parkinson's disease, that's one of the most complicated things that they can do. They have difficulties with multitasking.
Driving being a multitasking ADL, or activity of daily living, that most of us do, can be a huge issue for Parkinson's patients because you're receiving the information, you've got to decide to signal, you've got to decide to turn, you've got to decide to lane change and do so safely with all the other cars out there. That requires 100% of what you have.
It's not that these individuals are unable to attend to more than one stimulus at a time, but that their ability to respond in a timely fashion is impaired.
They know what to do. They can tell you exactly what to do, but they can't do it quickly enough. They can't react fast enough.
Research on driving ability employs different techniques. One is what we call off-road testing, such as the neuropsychological testing, vision testing, movement testing, which do not have any direct relationship with an actual driving task.
Oh, very good. Okay, and let's go for a walk outside.
To measure driving itself, there are different techniques. One is a test drive. However, on a road test, you can't expose the patient to hazards. So here comes the driving simulator, where no life or limb is at stake, and you can test the patient's abilities in a controlled and safe environment.
Not all Parkinson's patients fail a driving evaluation. They are still able to drive. In those patients that I have seen who have successfully completed an evaluation and are still able to drive, we do discuss the fact that Parkinson's is a progressive disease and that we know they will get worse as time goes on.
I requested to have a driving evaluation to let me know if I'm a health hazard to other people on the freeway.
It was his decision to make the driving assessment, and I thought it was a thing that he should do.
We perform neuropsychological evaluations to determine individuals' cognitive strengths and weaknesses. If they're having impairments in certain areas, they're probably not safe to drive. That one is correct. Mr. Cannon is a very bright man, and he actually did very well in his neuropsychological evaluation. His verbal and visual memory was very good and all within the normal range. Also, his attention and his visual spatial skills were excellent. The areas that he had some problems in were his processing speed. He has, again, what's called bradiphrenia, which is slowness of his thoughts. And so it takes him longer to think through information.
When a client comes to see me when they've been referred for driver rehabilitation, initially when they come in, I do just an interview to get to know them. I ask them about their medical history. And we do a vision screen to make sure they meet the minimal requirements of the state of Texas. Can you read line 5 for me from left to right? There should be 3 columns. Then I move into some other stuff that is more cognitive type testing. It's very minimal. It's similar to what you would see on a neuropsych eval. I use a signs test to give me general signs knowledge. We do a reaction time test, which is with a brake and a gas monitor that tests how they go from gas to brake. And from there, we just go to the road. As we walked out to the car, I noticed he had some freezing and that it was a little difficult at times for him to initiate the movements to open the door. Can you reach the gas and brake there okay? Once we got the door open, he was able to get in the car, but then he had difficulty locating his feet where they needed to be. Once we were in the car and we started the driving, none of that manifested itself during the drive. He had no freezing. Where we had issues is as we developed along our route, over 20 miles an hour, his reaction time just was not appropriate enough. He would verbalize to me, this is what I need to do, and he would do it, but in most instances it was way too late for if there had been an issue, he would have had an accident or a crash.
She said that I was slower reacting and that she would suggest that I not drive anymore.
He just had to think it out and make the decision on his own. He didn't like it, and I don't blame him. I wouldn't like it either. But it's just something that you've got to do.
When patients are told they can no longer drive, you can imagine, it is a huge loss of freedom.
I was very independent, so that's something I've had to deal with is if I want to go somewhere, I've got to depend on someone else to take me. I feel that in a certain aspect, I may be a burden to them.
If it was me, he would do that for me. So it's no problem for me to do it for him. That's what you have family for.
I had more or less already accepted the fact that I was going to have to give up my driving. But look at where I've been, where I've gone. I feel tremendously blessed, and actually it's not a loss, it's just to overcome another hurdle.